Hello, I'm Shyboy616, and welcome to part 2 of Sharks Week. And it sounds like we're about to get our next movies. You know, I knew this was coming. I just wasn't really prepared for it, I guess. Ouija Shark and Ouija Shark 2. After doing all those movies for Sharks Week last year, I was actually just having fun watching the shark movies for a little bit, and Ouija Shark was one of the ones I randomly decided to pick up. The copy I got being this really beat up, busted case. I don't know who abused the hell out of this, but the DVD was fine, so I ended up watching it. And let me just say, it definitely wasn't worth the price I paid for this. They even put this on the back saying, from the studio that brought you The Velocipaster and the director of Jurassic Shark. Neither of which necessarily has great acclaim, but Velocipaster did get some internet points. I have not gotten around to watching that one though. Not really sure if I will. But then this year, I actually went ahead and watched Ouija Shark 2. Not rewatching this one at all, and thankfully, the movie opens with a recap of the first one. But for the sake of the video, I'll go through it myself anyways, as it's a pretty fast movie to get through. Same thing with the sequel. So our movie starts out with some girl going to the beach, and when I say beach, it's like one of those random little spots at a lake you'd find at one of those campgrounds. It's not exactly the nicest place, and while she's chilling there, a Ouija board washes up, but it's a little different looking. It's very unique. She takes it with her. She's about to go on a party at a friend's house. It's just kind of funny that it's so like centered around them all being in their bathing suits, you know, bikinis and stuff, but they're just in their backyard of one of their houses. And there's one guy there, and he's not really all that involved with them in any other way. I honestly don't remember what his relationship is to them, but it doesn't really matter. We spend way too much time of them just partying, and they all look bored. And there's even a sexy car wash, and I say that in quotes because it's also just awkward and goes on way too long. Eventually they do get around to a point where they decide to play with the Ouija board, and it does end up communicating with them, but they don't really think anything of it. And we start getting some back and forth between this main set of characters we were given and then just other goings on around the place. We do get to see the Ouija Shark, and I think it's quite literally around the halfway point of the movie when it finally pops up, and it's a silly looking little puppet, but the way they put it in was kind of fun. Not in a way it's like, oh wow, that looks amazing. It's like, that looks so goddamn goofy, it's hilarious. And despite what we see on the cover, Ouija Shark does not actually need water. It's literally a little ghost that flies around eating people, and most of the kills end up happening in the woods. There is one particularly funny one where Ouija Shark comes out of a swimming pool and eats someone. Eventually, I think everyone in the movie gets eaten except a very select group of characters that aren't introduced till later on, and then the main girl. So our main girl, the one that got the Ouija board, her uncle's actually into all this occult stuff, and she's asking about it and trying to get his help. They eventually meet up and hold a ritual to hopefully put the shark to rest once and for all. It starts off as your normal like seance type thing, but then they realize like this isn't gonna be enough. He has like these Doctor Strange effects that pop up around his hands. He has a magic battle with the Ouija shark, and it's something the niece does to be sure that he couldn't come back is she takes a shotgun and shoots the Ouija board, destroying it, cutting off Ouija Shark's link to the mortal world. The magic battle between the uncle and the shark ends up leading to the uncle being lost into the afterlife, other worlds, whatever they refer it to. It's supposed to be the whole idea of, you know, heaven, purgatory, hell, but because of this whole battle with Ouija Shark, to be sure it can't possibly do any more harm, he ends up stuck in that dimension with it. And that's pretty much everything you need to know about Ouija Shark. Honestly, for the fact that it's what, this was 80 minutes? We spend maybe about half of that runtime not getting back to the shark, and the other half is just going so much back and forth between what's our filler dialogue going to be where we kind of explain everything, but then we're going to finally cut to the shark doing whatever. It's a little too much, but it did win me over with how goofy and silly some of it was. I did eventually end up deciding to give it a 2 instead of a 1 because I did have a little fun with it. It's definitely a bad movie night type movie, but not one you can watch with just anybody. And that officially brings us to Ouija Shark 2, the sequel. And it doesn't say this little subtext on here. In the opening credits we get Ouija Shark 2, Ouija Shark versus Tarot-gator. And you know, that cover looks pretty epic. Believe it or not, we do kind of get what's on here, except this little thing with the boat. That's definitely a detail that's thrown in for the hell of it. And I wanted to point out something interesting about this Blu-ray copy, and also I just straight up couldn't find a DVD. I was planning to get a DVD just because I figured it would be cheaper, and I was like, I don't care about putting money into this, but they put a lot into this release, so I'm very surprised. So we have a completely different cover, and for some reason it's like all in Japanese, and then when you open up the box, because of its clear case, there's actually some art back there to look at. I guess something Wildlife Releasing side did, because I got another movie from this company that did something very similar with its case. But there's a lot of like Japanese oriented stuff. Like, was this a weird cult hit in Japan? And it even gave a poster. I might find a little spot to put this. I think the posters are usually the best part of most, if not all, of these really cheap, bad movies. And not even just that stuff that was in the case or the cover in the slipcase right here. A bunch of the special features say Japanese theatrical Q&A, Japanese interview, Japanese promos, Japanese Christmas message, and then France theatrical promo out of nowhere. But there's a lot of Japanese centered stuff in this, and it has me wondering, are these random shark movies popular in Japan or something, or maybe just this one specifically? And that's an interesting dynamic to see after watching so many like weird Japanese movies. Interesting seeing that dynamic go the other direction. Now, to start off, this movie does in fact also have about an 80-minute runtime. About maybe 2, possibly 3 of those minutes are just the opening credits, and that's not even including the recap of the first movie right before them. This film opens up in the cemetery following the wife of the uncle that disappeared into the afterlife, or whatever we're calling it. I'm just gonna keep calling it that, I guess. But she doesn't really believe that he's dead, and she's in fact trying to get him back. Because I think that is an interesting point to bring up. It's not like his body was there. It's not like his spirit left the body. No, he straight up went into this other realm and fought the shark. It's not like he died and his spirit went and did it. We go to the meeting place where the whole seance ritual happened in the first place, and there's someone else running the place now. The wife goes to her in hopes that she will be able to help find the husband and make that link so they can bring him back. But the funny thing about all the magic stuff happens in this, it literally happens quite magically, meaning everything just happens as they need it to, when they need it to, with no explanation or real reason as to why what they do or say works. What the other woman ends up telling the wife is that her mother might be able to help, but she hasn't seen her in a long time and they didn't exactly end on good terms, so it might benefit her to not bring her up when she goes to meet her. We then cut to hell. Turns out he went straight to hell because this is where Ouija Shark is from. Ouija Shark actually has a master, a demon named Caldera. So we see the uncle going around hell and he starts fighting off a gang of gorillas. And it takes a while for them to show this because they show shots of him throwing his magic and then the gorillas like charging up doing their thing. The gorillas are tiny. I don't know why they decided to make it up to where the gorillas are actually very small. But then we get this visual of him picking one up and trying to ask it, it's like, who sent y'all? And it was the demon. Because the guy knows he's there to stop Ouija Shark and what he's doing. Because Caldera's plan is to take over the world, using Ouija Shark somehow. Which, if the first movie is anything to go off of at this point, Ouija Shark really couldn't do that much. And as we meet Caldera, there's a lot of bikini-clad women, and they just are kind of there. And this whole scene is very clearly green screen. I don't know if there's any elements outside of the actual actors that are physical or not. I don't think there's anything like that. And the funniest thing to realize is, if you watch this whole movie, I don't think the guy playing Caldera moves any more than like 2 feet. His character gets around a lot just by flying, or he gets to stand in one position the entire time. There is one shot where we see him take a couple steps, but I don't think he moved very far from where he originally was at all. Another funny thing they do, they have Ouija Shark eating people in hell, but because they're already dead and in hell, they just pop back up. And out of nowhere, we get a song.
I'm the hottest,
Not so modest.
I bring the heat to the underworld.
For a second, I really thought this thing was about to be Ouija Shark 2, the musical, but no, we only get the one song. And I say thankfully because it wasn't mixed too great. The music was a little too loud and you couldn't hear the lyrics as well as you should have. But it was enough to where you maybe get a chuckle or two out of it. Another thing worth pointing out, just about everyone except maybe Caldera sounds like a random AI chatbot, very monotone, robotic speaking. No matter what their lines are, they could be screaming and it still sounds like that. We didn't go back to the wife. She does meet with the estranged mother mentioned earlier. And she actually just lives in the middle of the woods in a day one survival hut from Minecraft. That's what I thought of when I saw it. Just like the quick little room. She even just walks into the place after trying to knock and realizing the mother's not there. She's like, no one's here. And all we see is like a bed and just random crap, you know, the very bare necessities to call something a house you can live in. And just when she's about to give up, the mother does pop and says, what do you want? They have their whole talk. She brings up the daughter, but she ends up deciding to help her out anyways because of the weirdness that she tells her. So it's like, you know what, fine, come with me, we'll help. And we have a weirdly, it's not very long, but it feels long because we're just literally watching them walk. And half of the mother's time being on screen is her backside because we mostly just see her walking away. They eventually just stop in a random clearing, which really isn't much of one. It's still very much overgrown. They sit down and she just whips up some green, and suddenly the wife is like, I know exactly what to do now, thank you. It's just quite literally by magic, she just knows what to do. Doesn't say what that little magic actually did or anything, it just gave her the knowledge, I guess. So the wife goes back to the daughter and they hold their ritual, and when I say that, I don't really know what they actually do besides look back into this crystal ball. They don't really do anything, just a link happens and the husband's back out of hell. But when she did this, he was actually held captive by Caldera and being tortured, and it was during his torture that he is magically pulled back out to Earth. Even though he is saved, once he comes to, he immediately starts panicking, saying, it's like, whatever brought me back opened a portal that he can come through. This is not good. We need to do something about it now. Or rather, he keeps pushing, I need to do something about it. But the wife says, like, no, you have people to help you. You can't keep doing things all by yourself. That's what went wrong in the first place, because apparently they had split up. They make up a whole backstory of them being separated, so she wasn't even quite in the picture until she found out that he had disappeared. So Caldera does in fact come through a portal from hell and unleashes Ouija Shark on the world yet again, but this time Ouija Shark is way more powerful, like nothing similar to what he was like in the first movie. And I find this scene is the best part of the movie, watching Ouija Shark's rampage and seeing all these random reactions. There's this weird reoccurring joke they use several times of this guy watching, he's like preying on the downfall of his ex. And the shots of this I find funny because there's some bits where, yeah, they clearly recorded it wherever, but then there's other really random shots where it's like, y'all really didn't have the back of a building I could have shot at, so it could look a little more like you're in the middle of a city. And the Shark's rampage really is kind of fun to watch as he just keeps growing too, and then what comes out is it starts turning into a kaiju movie. If you don't know what kaiju is, that's the big monsters like Godzilla. The uncle and his little team are trying to devise a plan to take down Ouija Shark as they're watching all this unfold on the news. The husband notices something interesting while he's going through his tarot deck and all these other documents of the occult, and realizes that there's a little something that might be able to help. We got a glimpse of this gator in hell, but we didn't really get explained what it was. He goes and meditates in a corner, literally in the corner of the kitchen. Does nothing, by the way. He literally sits down and then he kind of struggles to get up. It's like, I know you're probably a little up there. Probably not built the way you used to, but we actually watch in real time this dude kind of struggle to get back up from the kitchen floor. Anyways, we need to summon Tarot Gator, an alligator that's linked through tarot cards some reason. I don't know how that works quite the same as the Ouija Shark, because that one I could understand because the whole point of the Ouija board is you're communicating, and then I guess this one just so happened belongs to the spirit. I don't know how we got the gator out of the cards, because it's not like it's a gator-centered set of tarot cards, it's just a random deck. But anyways, it appears and we have an epic battle between a shark and an alligator. What more could you want? There are bits where they're just blasting beams at each other, but then they get to where they're just kind of wrestling on each other, like in the cover. They obviously don't look like that, as they are also both puppets still, like in the first one, but it's pretty silly and fun to watch. So while the gator's there to help, what they really need to do is destroy the board so they lose that link that lets Ouija Shark even be here. So Caldera, I guess, was just hovering somewhere in the sky, and so they start centering their magic, which apparently the husband, the wife, and the random medium lady, they can all make use of this magic. And just when they think they're about to lose, the mom comes back and also starts fighting against Caldera. They do end up destroying the board, sending Caldera back to hell. The Ouija Shark disappears. Credits roll, and then we get this after credits scene for some reason. Something about what they do also reverses everything that happened. I don't know how that part makes sense or works, because it's not like it destroyed the world or anything, but it definitely killed a bunch of people and destroyed a lot of the city, but that's all magically brought back, much like everything else being done throughout the movie. They even bring that the dude that was hoping his ex would die and the whole thing, getting disappointed that everything was brought back. And then that's Ouija Shark 2. In the end, I also give it a 2, just because of how slow and awkward that, I don't even know if that's just half. First, maybe 2/3 of the movie are just so awkward and slow. Everyone has really stiff acting. It's another fun bad movie, but I can't really recommend either of these unless you're into watching so bad it's funny movies. So at least they're not straight up to the point it's like I was totally bored or this made me upset. No. And they're apparently in talks of doing a third one. Maybe I'll check that out when it comes out. So if you enjoyed what you saw, leave a like, subscribe, and share the video. If you have something to say, feel free to do so in the comments below. Be sure to come back tomorrow for part 3 of Sharks Week. I'm Shyboy 616 with Like a Shark the Land Shark, and I will see you